Now we are. You may have asked, why aren't we doing manual transmissions anymore? Can't really give you a good answer, but we are doing our first manual transmission in months. Only it's an all testosterone manual transmission. Well, some of us have more than others, but John and Alex here, and Carrie, Ethan, and Evan there in Washington, D.C., where it's been an eventful few months. Evan's learning to drive. He's had injury issues. He's coming off a DL. But I think Ethan has the sad face of Nationals fan writ large. It's MLB playoff time, Ethan, and no Nationals playoff tickets for you guys. Deep bath, man.
Even though I did put down a deposit of $3,500 for Nationals playoff tickets 2 months ago. So,
what do you think the number one reason why the Nats didn't make it is, besides the Mets?
Well, I would say, I guess it's not original, but I would say the starting pitching was probably the biggest culprit. But then I guess I'll take it back. I guess there's many places to lay the blame, but I still think the injuries were the biggest issue. And then the way Williams handled those injuries wasn't probably the optimal way to handle that. I think hindsight being 2020, they probably rushed Rendon and Worth and Zimmerman into the lineup too quickly right after the All-Star break, and they displaced guys like Espinosa and Michael A. Taylor and the greatest of all time, Clint Robinson, guys who had really been producing for us. So I guess if you had it to do over again, they would probably ease those guys back into the lineup and keep as many at-bats for Robinson and other guys who were producing off the bench. But then, there's so many places that are so depressing. The Post has done a great set of journalism all week.
Barry Svrluga's stuff this week was fantastic. So good, in fact, that he could not do a freelance piece for Baseball America because he got busy doing all those wrap-ups.
But today they did 11 games the Nats should have won and didn't win. And it was really little capsules about each game. And it was just depressing how many of those games we had leads, or games where not just the starters, not just the relief pitchers, but the starters also just blew leads. And chief among them, Matt Scherzer, there's a couple of games where he had leads going into the fifth or sixth innings. He could not hold them. So I guess bottom line, my simple answer to that very simple question was there's a lot of blame to go around. I think Evan would probably blame one person, though, right, Evan?
Well, Evan's right here.
Yeah.
He can answer.
I'll probably blame the bullpen more than Matt Williams.
You do. Keep going, Evan. What'd you say? I was distracted by my daughter.
The bullpen more than Matt Williams. They just weren't very good, and Matt Williams wasn't very good.
So for the bullpen, does the blame go to those pitchers? Does the blame go to Mike Rizzo for not having Tyler Clippard around and having Casey Janssen instead, or does the blame go to Matt Williams for how he handled those guys? I ask you, Alex Manuel. Wrong, Evan Manuel.
I think it's more so Mike Rizzo didn't really bolster that as much, and the trade deadline he probably should have. He got Pavon, but we've all seen how that ended up working out. But I think Matt Williams didn't handle it very well. He overused the same guys, and they also just aren't very good players.
The reason for me, and Alex, you can chime in if you'd like, the Matt Williams criticism rings the most true is the same problem that he had last year in the playoffs. He didn't change his thinking, just even though it was a non-routine situation. He handled that playoff game like it was game 87, interleague in Detroit or something. And you can't do that. And I thought that he handled the stretch of the year when the Nationals started to crater the same way. And we've seen other managers with less talented rosters react differently. When the Royals were almost out of it last year, Ned Yost switched up and managed desperate, and the Royals haven't really stopped winning since then. And I think Terry Collins, when he saw his team, we have a new team here, and they floored it. And the contrast between Matt Williams and these other guys was pretty startling. And the other trend I've noticed is that a lot of these managers, whether it was Brad Ausmus, a couple other guys who didn't have any prior experience managing in the minor leagues. Don Mattingly's one of these guys too. A lot of these guys have struggled. with the weight of expectations. I just think that managing is very difficult, and I think you've seen some of the guys who have a little bit of experience, like a Joe Girardi, coaxing a lot out of the Yankees' very old team this year. I mean, that's not a great Yankees roster. I think Girardi's a tremendous manager. And I think
so. You think like Mike Matheny's kind of an outlier? He had no experience, right? And he went to the World Series.
He's an outlier, and he's in an outlier organization that just doesn't make very many mistakes. I mean, he has so much good support. And the other thing is, I don't think you can underestimate. He did play a long time for La Russa, and La Russa's pretty good at this stuff. I mean, he was maddening as a manager, but what's Matt Williams' experience? Dusty Baker, that's who he played for, right?
Well, it's funny though when you look. Well, Bob Brenly, that's some guy who knew what he's doing too. But
no, he really didn't though. Bob Brenly had that one job with the Diamondbacks, and he never really had another successful managerial gig. The guy won a World Series and never got a job back.
Well, the funny thing when you and Evan were talking about the bullpen though, it's funny when you compare it. But I mean, Evan's right to lay a lot of the blame at Rizzo's feet, because if you look at the bullpen that the Royals have or the Giants have, they've come out with a bunch of plus arms who throw one inning or can do situational stuff. Our bullpen this is where Rizzo, I don't know why Rizzo thought Blake Trinan, who just seemed to makeup-wise is not ready to pitch important innings, but like Aaron Barrett last year, I mean, I don't know why. That guy's a meathead,
What do you think of Aaron Barrett, Alex?
Roark wasn't very good this year out of the pen. It's funny. Last year's team was very good because we had Tyler Clippard and Drew and Craig Stammen, who were bulwarks of that bullpen, and they didn't come close to replacing those two guys this year. Trinan and Roark tried to replace Stammen, and that was it. They both failed at that miserably. And then Jansen, was in the middle of the season was great, but God, he was just horrible. Just could not get any big outs, and then. I mean, some of it. That's why there's so much blame to lay around here. When he used him in those back-to-back games in St. Louis, and that's the weird thing about Williams. Even when he tried to get out of his comfort zone, he messed it up. I mean, bringing in Jansen back in the ninth in that second game against St. Louis, and then bringing Storn in again the night after he gave up all those walks and the homer to Cespedes. And brought him in the next night again.
That was bizarre.
So even when he tried to change it up and get out of his pattern, he really, really blew it. But I think when you look at all the comedy of mistakes in this team, obviously the fight between Papelbon and Harper is the defining moment, and it just means unless Rizzo will be run out of this town on a rail if he doesn't get rid of both Matt Williams and Jonathan Papelbon, because I think there's a lot of support for this team. And attendance was up slightly as opposed to last year, even though they were disappointing for most of the year. So DC's becoming a real baseball town with some real deep and knowledgeable fans. But you just can't have Papelbon back. And Williams blew it with that Papelbon fight in the dugout by bringing him back into the game. I mean, so
yeah, that's pretty big. That's a pretty unforgivable mistake. Now I will say, handling bullpens is tough. Evan's got us muted. I was going to ask Evan, but Nathan, did you watch any of the games yesterday? Did you watch the crazy? I mean, did you watch the Scherzer no-hitter? I'm going to guess you probably watched the end of it. And did you watch the Angels-Rangers game?
I only watched the former, a little bit of the Scherzer. The last two innings, we were out that night. But
okay, well, you can listen to Alex's, because handling a bullpen is tough. So yesterday, it didn't wind up mattering because it made today matter, but the Rangers blew a 4-run lead in the ninth inning to the Angels. And Alex, we were watching that game, and Ethan, I don't know if you know this, but the Rangers pitched their top two relief pitchers, Sam Dyson
and
Sean Towles.
Yeah, for 5 days in a row. So on the fifth day, Sam Dyson came in and pitched a perfect inning.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And then Tollison came in to pitch the top of the ninth. And
with a 4-run lead.
So he came in with a 4-run lead, and he gave up a home run to Eric Ibar, and then on the next pitch he gave up a home run to Cole Calhoun. And then they switched pitchers to, who was it?
Ross Ollendorf.
Yeah, they switched to Ross Ollendorf, who had this crazy...
Former Nat Ross Ollendorf.
He was using this crazy wind-up, like one of these old-fashioned wind-ups, and Mike Trout had never seen him before, and he got Mike Trout to, like, ground out, and then he looked really good because then he got Albert Pujols to hit this little blooper in the right field, but Mike Napoli and Odor had like a miscommunication, and Pujols hustled and got the second.
And then it all fell apart.
And then it fell apart for Ohlendorf because then he was in the stretch and they'd seen him before like that and they could hit him. So Crone came up and hit a base hit. Then they pinch ran for him with Colin Cowgill.
We don't need to give any more play-by-play.
Yeah,
and then it all fell apart. That says it all.
And then
the Rangers second baseman really stinks, doesn't he?
Who?
The Rangers second baseman. Man, that guy.
Rougned Odor. No, he's just 21. He's gonna be awesome. I mean,
it's because his last name is Odor.
Come on, man, help me out. Exactly.
It's Odor. Come on, I know his uncle. His uncle's the man. I mean,
it's spelled Odor though. My dad.
Rougned and Rougned. Those are great guys.
I love Rougned.
Make fun of the Odor. That's a joke I made 15 years ago in the Appy League when his father was the manager. I'm past that now.
Rough Ed Odor. I love that name. Rougned Odor.
Yeah, they just like the Angels piled it on from there, and then Joe Smith came on and closed it out.
It was a dramatic game, but it was also just fascinating to see. This time of year. I mean, the Nationals bullpen went awry earlier. This time of year, it's just that the Rangers bullpen was all missing was bones. It was dead Jim. It was terrible to watch them try to win a division title with Ross Ohlendorf on the mound, but I think the Nationals' plan was what the Rangers' plan was today, which was get the ball to Cole Hamels and get out of his way. And that's why the Nationals' bullpen ultimately wasn't good enough, is because the starters weren't good enough. It wouldn't have mattered if the starters had been better, to me. Their bullpen would have been sufficient. But their starting pitching all year was not up to expectations. So that's why they're that's why they're at home.
Well,
so who are you rooting for now?
Well, their starting pitching did underwhelm at times, that's for sure. I mean, they were bad. They were worse than, not much worse than people thought they were going to be. Boswell did a column on this, but
yeah.
But even then, even if they were old school pitching, 7 or 8 innings, and Kent DeColvey was coming in to get the last 7 outs or 6 outs, or if it was the 70s, that bullpen still would have been post Storen. That bullpen, they just blew it when they moved everybody around. It just completely exploded, made everything worse. But even then, they just weren't that good. Storen was good for almost the entire season until he got the rug pulled out from under him by his general manager. But other than him, Felipe, what's his name? Rivero was pretty good, even though
Here's a question. Would you have wanted to go into the postseason with Storen as your closer?
Yeah, I would have. I would have this year. Yeah.
No way. No way.
I would have. But the way he was pitching, he still has more saves. He finished the season with more saves than Papelbon did.
Who cares about the regular season? He's 0 for the playoffs, and he's pretty much 0 for like.
Nah, he got a save.
He has a lot of minus big moments.
Well, Evan will point out. Go ahead, Evan.
Sorry, Evan. I didn't mean to talk over you.
It doesn't matter. Storen got a save in Game 3 of the postseason last year, but also a reason that Papelbon didn't get more saves than Storen this year is because around the time they traded for Papelbon, that's when stuff started to go bad. Like when they got swept by the Mets, I don't know, 3 games after they had Papelbon. So
right, and they didn't use Papelbon a lot.
The crazy thing about that Angels game was that they scored all those runs in the ninth without Trout getting on.
Right.
Trout went 2 for 4, but the rest of the team did it all because after that, Freeze had a
Well, I want to go back to Evan's point. The reason I brought up Jordan's 29 saves that he was having a good, and I would have given him one more postseason to see how well he did. But I'm in there with him because it was working. We were in first place. This is where one of the articles that Sverluga wrote about mentioned how mad people
got about the Nats anymore.
Well, I do.
Go ahead.
But but that they gave money to they traded for Papelbon's contract when they wouldn't just re-sign Tyler Clippard or go out and get Tyler Clippard. There was other things Rizzo could have done to make the bullpen stronger. He did the one thing that was worse, and then the guy ends up choking our best player for not running out of ball. He ran out.
How about today when Bryce Harper legged out that double in the ninth inning of a completely meaningless game? I mean, yeah, that whole thing's Papelbon's a knucklehead and a joke. I mean, I think we all know that. I do think Rizzo's instinct, he couldn't go into October with Drew Storen as his closer again. I think that's a fair read. I'm not saying that he was right, but it's based in fact. It's not based totally in fiction. It's not a dumb hunch to do that. But your choice there needs to be Craig Kimbrell, not Jonathan Papelbon.
But here's why it's a dumb hunch. You fix that over the off season. You don't tell him on the first day of the season, you're our closer this year. We've changed our mind. You're going to be our closer. He didn't. That you fix that in the off season, like he did the last time he pulled out the rug from under Drew Storen when he signed Rafael Soriano in the off season. You don't do that in the middle of the season like that.
Well, apparently not. No, apparently don't. It would have made more sense had they outmaneuvered, say, the Rangers for Sam Dyson. Fixing a middle relief really fixed the Rangers. And Sam Dyson was pretty nasty, wasn't he, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the last time I saw Sam Dyson in person that I can remember was in 2009 regional in East Carolina, which was the only postseason game South Carolina lost. For the only series they lost from 2010 through 2012, and they lost to Arizona. So that team has only produced two big leaguers of any note, Jackie Bradley Jr. and Sam Dyson. They went to they won two championships and lost a third. So, but I digress. I'm trying to change the subject.
For some reason, Evan and I have no response to that.
That's fine. Most of the teams, they beat Garrett Cole. They beat teams that had a lot of other better big leaguers, is the point, which is impressive. So the playoffs are actually set up. So we'll go through it here because I'm sure there's some people who are really watching this for their actual playoff preview. Tuesday at 8 o'clock on ESPN, it's the Astros at the Yankees in the American League wild card. And the National League wild card Wednesday, October 7th, is the Cubs and the Pirates. And Alex, why don't you take us through the games of the 8th and 9th?
So on Thursday, the 8th, it's the AL wild card at Royals.
So that'll be the Astros or the Yankees.
Mm-hmm. And then the Rangers at the Blue Jays game 1. Then the AL wild card at the Royals for game 2 on the 9th.
We'll do the National League one down here.
Yeah. So
the National League starts on Friday.
Yeah, the National League starts on Friday. The Dodgers versus the Mets game 1 is on TBS. The NL wild card at the Cardinals game 1 is the same day on the same channel.
So who are you guys rooting for of the teams that are left? A tragic blimp accident?
No.
I'm rooting for the Pirates.
Pirates. I think I'm rooting for the Pirates too.
Yeah, the Pirates are likable. I think I'm rooting for the Cubs probably sentimentally, just because they're the Cubs, even though the owner's a Republican.
Yeah, well-heeled Republican.
Yeah, but I think those are probably the most likable teams. I'm not like Bryce Harper and hoping the Mets. I'm hoping the Dodgers sweep the Mets. Yeah, I could go either Pirates or Cubs.
Well, that does look like that could happen because now they blew home field advantage. So now,
it's to us.
Mm-hmm, now Syndergaard has to start on the road, and they're going to have to face Kershaw and Greinke at Dodger Stadium. So
on the American League side, the Astros are kind of a sentimental, not sentimental, but an interesting story. Haven't been in the playoffs for a long time. But the team, of all the teams that are in the playoffs that we've watched, the one thing that I keep forgetting how good they are is the Blue Jays. When we played them, they swept us, I think, or take 2 or 3, and that lineup is potent.
Yeah, their lineup's ridiculous.
Yeah, and now they have David Price and that other guy. They have a couple of
Stroman.
So they're an interesting team to watch. So it'll be. And then the Royals have all this head of steam. So there's not a lot of. There's not a lot of chaff in the playoffs this year, probably.
I would say the chaff is in the American League West. All those teams are pretty flawed. I mean, the Astros are very flawed. They're a very home run reliant, home run centric team. I mean, Colin McHugh's their number 2 starter. I know he won 19 games, but just watching him yesterday again, I mean, he wasn't a big surprise. He just flips a ton of breaking balls up there. He's not very imposing. It is cool. They started Lance McCullers Jr. today because I loved his dad as a player. His dad was cool. Back when relief pitchers were men, and he threw 131 innings for the 1986 Padres. Go on BREF and check that guy's 86 season out. That was a year of fantastic relief pitchers. Him and Mark Eichhorn. Mark Eichhorn had probably the best relief season of all time that year. But the Blue Jays, I think actually if you go by run differential, until today, the Blue Jays had the best run differential in baseball by a lot. Their Pythagorean record was like 102-60. So statistically, they're the best team, and that counts. The first 3 months of the year where they were just okay.
Right.
But their bullpen's a little iffy. Not automatic. They have 22-year-old setup man and a 20-year-old closer. I believe their closer, Roberto Osuna, is Antonio Osuna's nephew. That's how young he is.
Wow.
So that makes us feel dated. But yeah, I think the Blue Jays are a clear favorite in the American League, in my mind. I just think it's amazing none of us have mentioned the Cardinals. I don't necessarily want the Cardinals to win, but they were wire to wire in a very good division, the best team in the National League, with a 97 and 98 win teams in their division that they had to beat back. That's pretty incredible. I think they're really taken for granted, and at the same time, I think they're wounded. Unhealthy Molina. Carlos Martinez is their best arm. I don't know where they're going to get out of Wainwright coming back. I don't know if Matt Holliday's ever right. They don't have Matt Adams.
Like you said, that happens every year. It never seems to matter to them.
Yeah, Matt Adams is back.
I forgot. Well, maybe that's a bad thing. Even Brandon Moss wasn't very good for them. Usually everyone they touch turns to gold. But I do think, honestly, like assessing them, I think they're the third best team in their division coming into the playoffs. I think the other two teams are in better shape. So
well, there's
I'm
a reason why
rooting for Cubs Blue Jays World Series. What'd you say, Ethan?
You said Cardinals Blue Jays?
No, Cubs. I'm rooting for a Cubs Blue Jays World Series. So.
Well, we're never going to say anything nice about the Cardinals from here in your nation's capital.
Not even with your Papu's favorite team, Evan?
No.
Nobody's mentioned is that the crazy thing is the Blue Jays gave up home field advantage today so that Mark Burley could pitch 2 innings so he could get to 200 innings.
Did you guys see that?
They wound up losing 15-1.
They started Mark Burley on 1 day's rest to try to get him 2 innings. He was at 198 and a third innings coming into the game. They started him against the Rays, tried to get him the first 5 outs of the game, and he got pounded.
Well, there were 2 errors, so he had 0 earned runs, but he gave up 7 runs.
I think he gave up 4 earned runs, but he gave up 7 runs in 2/3 of an inning. So, because I think he's retiring at the end of the year too.
I like my Burley because he worked so fast, and he had that crazy between the legs throw in his perfect game, right in his perfect game.
Right. I mean, he's a compiler.
That wasn't his perfect game, but yeah.
What's that? That might have been his no hitter. He has 2. He has
that was just on opening day. It wasn't on any.
That's what it was. I guess it was opening day. That's right.
Xeris or Hawk Harrelson, orthodoxos.
Really?
Yes, he is. The guy who used to be the priest in Durham actually officiated his wedding. Pide Elenida.
That's kind of embarrassing, right?
No, not really. I mean, he's amusing in an old man way. So, but Dad loves him. He knows his demographic. Dad loves watching Hawk. Alex, who's the Major League Rookie of the Year for you? Would you vote?
Wait. Who's Evan's World Series pick?
Oh, I'm sorry.
My World Series pick?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I would like it to be either Blue Jays Pirates or Rangers Pirates. I like the
Rangers. Probably the same thing, something like that, but I don't know. I kind of want to root for the Astros. I don't know why. I like the Astros.
It was our team.
I like the Astros this year.
As good as the Blue Jays are, I still think that it's the Royals Cubs is my pick.
Yeah, I think it's gonna end up being Royals, Cardinals. Even though the Cardinals are beat up, they have that devil magic. So
Yeah, Jason Hayward's been huge.
He's been good lately. He's been really good.
I don't like Jason Hayward. Once a barv, always
He's a barv, exactly.
I'm trying to think if there are any key North Carolinians on any of these teams outside of Corey Seager now playing shortstop for the Dodgers, which is kind of amazing that they are sitting Jimmy Rollins.
Dustin Ackley's on the Yankees, right?
Yeah, he's from Winston-Salem, so I don't count that part.
That's North Carolina.
Yeah, he went to.
But Ackley's barely the start. But he's like their starting second baseman now. It's weird, but it's very strange how the Yankees are using him. All right, Rookie of the Year, Alex. Chris Bryant, Francisco Lindor, or Carlos Correa? And I'll give you a hint. We saw a picture of him in the mall the other day. We actually went to the mall.
Chris Bryant.
Chris Bryant, how many baseball players do you see doing ads that aren't local? That's like a national guy. That's a big deal for baseball. Chris Bryant's important.
He was in like the front of the Foot Locker.
An Adidas ad.
Yeah.
In September and October. That's a big deal. I'm sorry. That's huge for baseball. You don't see Mike Trout anywhere. You don't even see Harper nationally very often.
You don't see Mike Trout anywhere.
Not outside of a Subway commercial. Who watches those?
Mike Trout's in a lot of stuff. Mike Trout's in a good amount of commercials.
Yeah, I see him a lot. It seems like on ESPN at least.
Like what commercials? For baseball, but like for Subway.
I don't know. I think he has like some equipment ads or something like that.
Yeah, there's some other thing he does for something. Yeah.
I think it's a big
like some sports drink he endorses.
He does he has a Dick's Sporting Goods ad, as I recall. I mean, I don't know. I don't really watch ads much, but it is good that baseball players get exposure. I think the Harper, though, seems to be people worry that Harper's got too much exposure, all those Gatorade ads and stuff like that.
I can tell you that nobody in Park Avenue in Major League Baseball worries about that. I think it's huge for the sport that the Cubs are good. I think it's huge for the sport that Chris Bryant or Addison Russell or one of those Cubs guys breaks out and becomes a star. I think it would be huge for the sport for Carlos Correa to be a big star, even if he's in Houston.
Well, no one disputes that. I mean,
but the fact that it's happening for Bryant is good. I'm just telling you, it's not noticeable elsewhere. Out here in a non-major league market, it's a little bit different view. So,
well, it would be intriguing to see if the Cubs get in the World Series, what would happen with TV ratings. I'm assuming there'd be a sizable bump. Like if there was Yankees Cubs. That would actually put us back in the old numbers where baseball used to be in the World Series. I think that Cubs Nation thing is so huge. It'd be interesting to watch how many people watch if the Cubs are in there.
We were just watching that 2003 ESPN film about how the fan went and tried to grab the ball. Mm-hmm. It was about
what jerks the people of Chicago were to Steve Bartman.
Yeah.
That's what it was about.
Yeah.
There's a new website trying to get him. There's a Kickstarter campaign to get him to go to a playoff, to the wild card game. And his attorney apparently said he will not be attending the game, but he appreciates the support from the fans who want Steve back in Wrigley or something like that.
They've been to the playoffs since then. They were in the playoffs 3 times under Piniella, I'm pretty sure. 2006, 2008, 2009.
Yeah, and then they got swept by the Dodgers.
Right. All right, here's a trivia question for all 3 of you. You guys know what the longest playoff drought is in Major League Baseball now? What team and what year was it? I'll let Evan guess first.
Well, let me give some time to think about it.
Longest playoff drought
in Major League Baseball today.
The Royals used to have the oldest one, I think.
I thought you were going to say the team that
team that hasn't been to the playoffs for the longest time.
Well, I thought you were going to say the team that hasn't been.
I'll give you a hint. A guy who played on that team. There's at least one player still active on that team, and he pitched today.
Wow. I'm going to say the Twins.
No, they just went like in 2008, 9.
Yeah, they won. They used to be kind of good.
Alex, you saw him pitch.
Like where?
On the highlights. I don't think his glove was flared, Alex.
The Marlins.
No, not the Marlins.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is a relatively short streak now. That
it is. The Marlins are close. Marlins are 2003. They're close.
Yeah.
The answer is this guy
Wait,
played.
I haven't guessed yet.
This guy. Well, guess.
Well, I'm thinking. It's hard.
It is. It's hard. There are only 30 teams.
Oh, I know the
There
Mariners.
are only 20 guesses because 10 are going this year.
The Mariners.
That's it. It is the Mariners in 2001,
Wow.
a year when they won 100 and what was it? 116 games.
116 games.
That's amazing. They haven't been to the playoffs since then.
So who pitched today? Who's on that team who pitched today?
Ichiro.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
Ichiro pitched today for the Marlins.
I was thinking Ichiro pitched
Well, you
today,
should have
but when you
guessed.
said Marlins, I forgot he played for the Mariners in 2001.
Yep, Alex thinks of Ichiro as a Marlin. That's sad.
That is really
He
sad.
says he knows, but he knows.
The funny thing about Ichiro is he a unanimous Hall of Famer. I guess he won't be unanimous, but he's got to be first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
I mean, he probably will be. I mean, yeah.
He was dropped.
In some ways, I think he's a little overrated. I mean, number one, the Mariners never went to the playoffs again with him as their best player. Number two, just look him up. He spent the first half, the bulk of his major league career in a power era, and he didn't hit for any power. So when you look at his OPS relative to the league average, it's
But
not.
it was a power era because of
Yeah.
PE.
But so what? He played in that era, and that's what he's going to be judged by. I mean, he's going to get in. Don't try to tell me he's close to Pete Rose's record because of all his hits in Japan. Japan's not the major leagues. And B,
He still has a lot of hits.
he does. He'll get in the Hall of Fame. He has a lot of hits. He's actually his most comparable guy is Tony Gwynn. You know, Tony Gwynn carried the Padres to the playoffs twice. The Padres, for crying out loud.
That's what I was gonna guess in the
Tony Gwynn stole more bases. Wasn't as good on defense, but was a flat-out better hitter by a lot. Hit for more power.
When's the last time the Padres made the playoffs?
They've been at several times under Kevin Towers in the middle of the last decade. Like 2000, wasn't it 2007 when they
Well, no, they lost in a one-game
game
playoff to the
163
Rockies.
to the Rockies? That's right. I think it's 2005 or 6. One of those years they won the West with an 82-80 record.
I forget. There's some team that the Reds just lost their record for being like the team that hasn't finished last in a division for like they hadn't finished last in a division for like 32 years.
The Reds really made a
Until last
spirited tanking run at the Phillies for the number one pick. I mean, it's hard to tank as hard as the Reds did. So they didn't start a non-rookie pitcher for the last 2 months of the year. Like basically since they traded Cueto and Leake, every pitcher who started for them was a rookie.
Wow.
Like Cingrani and Iglesias.
He never started. No, but Raisel Iglesias, DeSclafani, all those guys. Gwen Stefani, Anthony DeSclafani. Everybody they started was a rookie.
He's just a girl.
Exactly. All right, I'm out on material, so I think we made all of our picks, and we should stop.
What about football?
I didn't watch any football today. Like 2 minutes of football, maybe 5 minutes. Tar Heel football. That was a big win for Carolina yesterday.
Football's
Yeah,
the
that
enemy.
was a good win.
Yeah, you turned on the Dolphins-Jets game.
For like 2 minutes, and then I realized this is terrible.
When you realize it was the morning, we should have
Well,
watched
we
it.
watched. I did watch I watched them actually sing "God Save the Queen,"
Yeah.
which they didn't follow up with the fascist regime. Then I changed it.
Apparently the Dolphins played terrible. I only saw Tannehill throw a couple passes. I saw like 2 sets of downs, and Tannehill had like 3 and outs on 3 passes both times.
Evan, you and Al will have to have your own Madden football podcast some other time.
Okay.
But now it's time for Alice to go to bed. And Evan, give us a status report on your leg.
It's good.
Are you walking on it without a brace or any of that yet?
Yes. Got my brace off last week.
So how long has it been since you broke it?
About 7 weeks, 8 weeks, I think.
You're going to get some platelet-rich treatment to get you back on the court soon?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of physical therapy. It hurts.
Is that good?
That's
Yeah.
how it was working, right?
Yeah.
Well, in 5 weeks, he goes back to the doctor, and the doctor has said at that point he may, assuming everything continues to progress, could let Evan start doing some light basketball activity.
I've already been taking jump shots, which apparently I was not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, don't do that anymore.
Because I'm a savage.
Savage means bad patient.
Yeah, sure.
That is what it means, actually. That's the Latin root of the word.
Yeah, look it up. Sabotage is what it stands for.
Latin joke of the day. All right, Galiniquasas, we're going to go to bed. I think
All right.
Alan gave you a fist
Good
bump.
night, Amos. That's more Latin.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good luck. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.